Not only because it's Mayhem Monday, picking the topic live on air. I love the spontaneity.
Spontaneity, I think you're right.
Spontaneity?
I think you said it
Spontaneity?
right the first
Is
time.
that like a US Canadian thing, like ketchup,
Yeah,
potato,
tomato. Yeah.
tomato? Okay. Mayhem Monday, picking the topic live on air in just a second. Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly. Well, all right.
Oh, green lights is back. Hey,
Pulling out a Matthew McConaughey first
we
thing
gotta
Monday
start
morning.
making,
You know
we
it's
gotta
going to be a
start
good
coming
one.
up with a little secret prize for like who says morning first or something. Morning, Lisa. I love it.
Oh yes, that's right.
She's
Right on.
right on it.
Morning,
Thank
Lisa.
you.
So, over the weekend when you can't sleep, I tend to do a lot of thinking. Actually, daily when I can't sleep, I tend to do a lot of thinking.
Same
And
here.
the spontaneity of Mayhem Monday for me has got to be one of my favorites because,
Yeah.
So for everybody understanding, like none of these shows are scripted. Even when we have guests on, they say, "What do you want to talk about?" I'm like, "Well, we're going to talk about sales, or we're going to talk about your supply chain." And that's literally it. And they're like, "Okay, well, give me a couple of questions." We're like, "Well, I don't really know what we're going to ask. We're just going to," and they kind of look at us like we got 5 heads, but we have such great conversations. And, going into Data Day Wednesday, we know we're going to talk about data. That's the only thing we really set up is Data Day Wednesday because it's like, okay, we're going to talk about this chunk of data and how it retains or, how it works or fits into the sales equation in logistics. But even wins and losses Friday, for everyone listening, DJ and I really don't talk about it during the week. We kind of leave it to, this is what it is Friday. And I mean, I literally wake up Friday morning and I go through my week's agenda.
Exactly.
Because I mark my wins and losses down. I'm like, okay, what am I going to talk about? Am I going to talk about that? Nah, it doesn't really have any teeth. That was my fault. I'm the idiot that screwed that one up. So maybe I'm not going to bring that up this week. You know what I mean? But like Mayhem Monday, to sit here with a stack of topics and just go, okay,
no clue.
Just like whenever you want to stop. To me, that is like, it's one of the greatest things because it's like, okay, here's the topic, go. And it's like, it's
and
right up.
I love that you're bringing this up because and again, we didn't even talk about this, but yes, I love that because I think when you're scripted something, especially we only have a half hour, if we said, okay, we're going to talk about this, like I think especially those kind of shows that you see, they kind of just seem like they're trying to drag sometimes. And when it's open like this, I mean, who knows? And most of the time we get conversation going so much, we want to go like another 3 hours because we really get in. And I don't think we'd have that same feeling if we did it that way. So yeah, I agree.
No, I mean, I remember back in 2009 when I started Little Conversations Today, and that was a website I started where I just read books and I contacted the authors. And they would say, okay, like, what are you going to ask me? And I said, I'm just going to ask you questions on the book. And they said, well, what parts? I said, well, I don't know. And I'd take a picture of the book and I'd send it to them. They'd be like, holy crap, because there's like 1,400 tabs and ear notes or banana or rabbit ears or whatever they call it, banana ears. I don't know why that came up. But it's spontaneity. I find the conversation takes on a life of its own, DJ.
Yes.
Is the best way for me to put it, right?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Speaking of that, let's do it.
Let's do it. Stop there. There. Yeah.
All right. So we have got, very good. Becoming more than just a salesperson.
Oh, yes.
So, wow, this is pretty cool because last week was it last week? No, actually, it was the week before. My weeks are going into each other. I mean, how much really, when you look at what we talk about, the people we bring to the show, I mean, the first live daily sales show that I've ever seen is us. And it's because we want to help people become more than just a salesperson.
Yes.
Exactly. In the end, when you look at the nucleus of everything that you do, you can't just be that salesperson. You have to be somebody that cares about things, that cares about, goals for the customer. And caring about a customer achieving a goal is not a salesperson. That's a person saying, I have a higher calling than just to make a transactional sale with you.
Bingo.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And you know, I
It's
have down here,
deeper.
the snake oil salesperson is dead. Who you are matters more than moving freight. Like, and you know, you think
Yes.
about this for a second, right? How many customers have you had? You know, I'm going through it right now where
Mm-hmm.
I have a customer and it's like, here, go grab all this stuff. And then halfway through, they're like, okay, those have been canceled. Other people have picked them up. And it's like, okay,
What?
you know, and it's a lot of back and forth and it's frustrating. And
Mm-hmm.
who you are matters more than moving freight. Like, are you trustworthy? Can you be there? Are you dedicated? Are you consistent? Can you,
Mm.
you know, like these things to me is now, don't get me wrong, moving freight matters because you can be consistent at calling a customer and saying we don't have a truck. but but you know, what are you besides a salesperson? And this
I love
topic actually came about, and for those of you that are in Inception, you've heard this story, so I'll be very brief. Um, in 2010, I sat down with Enersys batteries, right? So Enersys batteries makes the Hogwarts batteries or
Yeah.
the big ones that go um, into like forklifts and all that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
They're huge industrial batteries. And I remember going in and visiting the traffic manager at the time, Cheryl. And we sat down, you know, had the typical conversation. It was an email introduction. Hey, can I get a meeting? Yep, I'll give you 20 minutes here, my time. Da, da, da. So I drove in. We sat down. First time we're ever meeting. We never spoke on the phone, nothing. It was like straight up meeting to or email to meeting situation.
I love
And
it.
we're talking. She gave me a bunch of different lanes to quote on. I said, okay, no problem. So I went back to the office, quoted on the lanes the next day, and then we agreed that in the meeting we agreed to another meeting. If I got the rates to her by tomorrow, then the next day we would have another meeting. So go back in. Sorry, 2 days later we'd have another meeting. So went back in 2 days later. It was about 9:30 meeting, and sat down. And she says, okay, so I want you to take these lanes, and these lanes, and just like that, it was a real shocking experience because it was like,
Wow.
okay, and it wasn't like I was with this, you know, massive $4 billion broker that everyone knew. It was actually
Yeah.
the opposite. I was
Wow.
with a very small firm at that time, trying to help them build their team, and I'm like, okay, and it was funny because the first time ever I asked in a meeting, what made you decide to use me? And some salespeople might say that's a deal killer. Like, never ask that, just go with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
I think if you ask it that way, you might. They'd be, should I not?
well, and this is and you ever been in that meeting where you're like, I need to ask this because your brain is going, you need to know,
Yes.
and then your heart's going, don't ask, don't ask. And
Oh,
you got
oh,
the two
yes,
devils, like the
yes,
the the the
yes.
you know
You're not
the
going to want
angel
the
and the
answer. You don't
devil, and
want
they're
this
going back and
answer.
forth. It was
Yeah.
so crazy, and I just said, you know what? I said, I got to ask. I said, I got to step out of my
Oh,
comfort zone and
no.
ask. And I said, you know, if
Oh,
you don't mind me asking, I mean, it was very quick from phone call to end. Like literally, we're talking less than a week from
wow.
the email to close. And I'm sorry, I don't care how good you are, unless you're talking price and you have a $500 difference from the highest bidder, you don't close deals that quick, right?
Yeah.
Especially this is like full distribution. This is, you know, pick up a truckload, bring it to your warehouse, distribute it everywhere. This is not,
Yeah, this is not a
and
quick,
it just
quick
doesn't
not one
happen
of
that
those quick
quick, right? Because
roads.
people
Yeah.
care about their image, credibility, and brand a little bit more than that. And um, and she said, "Oh well, when you left, I Googled you." And I went, "Okay." And I'm still not clicking, DJ. Like, I'm still not clicking. She
Yeah.
goes, "Well, I found your site, Little Conversations today." She goes,
No
"And I
shit.
love the fact you're reading personal development books and you're asking those people." She goes, "You know, Dan, you're more than just a salesperson." And I went,
Yes.
whoa, okay. And that's when everything started hitting. That's when I developed the read an article, give your opinion about it. Don't just regurgitate a line inside the article or regurgitate the headline and post it. Give your
Yeah.
opinion, be your
How
own
does it relate?
person.
Yeah. Be you.
Yeah. Like, don't, if you agree with something, why do you agree with it? If you
Hmm.
don't agree with it, lay out the
Why?
context, text, and why you don't agree with it.
Yeah.
You know, there's all this talk about standing out from the crowd and doing this and doing that. The reality is, if you're your own person, people are going to relate to you, and
Yes.
you can make. I told DJ, I told you the story. I've told so many people the story. I had a buddy of mine when I first got into the industry. He sucked at sales. All he knew was baseball. That was his first question. Do you like baseball? The guy does millions of dollars a year in profit, talking to people all day about baseball. And
Yes.
he's in logistics. So don't get me wrong. He moves freight, but he only talks baseball. And even today, I spoke to him like 3 weeks ago. And I said, are you still? He goes, damn right. He goes, Dan, I still don't know how to sell. I'm me. He goes, but if you want to talk baseball, I'll give you analogies all day long that reference back to transportation that you can go, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Right? Like
Well, see,
he's
and
not.
I'm glad you brought that up because man, that just hit me like a ton of bricks when you said that. When you said he's just being himself, he doesn't know how to, or he doesn't know how to sell. It's because he's not trying any tricks. He's not trying
Mhm,
any. Well, if I do this, they'll do this, or if I. He's just
mhm,
being himself. He's
mhm,
just being him true self, talking about what he likes, finding common ground with the other person, and they share that same interest. So they talk, and the next thing you know, he finds out their problems. That sounds like a friendship. It's the
mhm.
same damn thing. It's the
DJ, do
same
you know how many
thing.
deals I lose daily because I'm myself?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
and some people might go, "What? What do you mean by that?" Like,
me too.
I could get a salesperson on the phone, and I can convince them to get my program. Very easy. And I don't mean that with any ego. I understand sales. I understand
Oh, yeah,
psychology.
yeah,
I
yeah.
understand how to convince somebody to do something. But my integrity will not allow that to happen.
Exactly.
I won't. I'll show
That's
them
the
what
difference.
it is,
And that's the
and I'll say,
difference between a snake oil salesperson and a
Mhm.
true person just
and
trying to help somebody.
well, and that I'm glad you said that because that is the true end. And for years in this industry, I was like, yeah, but I just move freight.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
don't.
No.
Like we don't move
No.
freight. And I know I've spoken about this before, but it's worth speaking about almost every day. We facilitate the end user's happiness. That's really what we do. Because we don't get the product to shelf, the customer could. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people will say, "Well, somebody else will just get it to market." Yes, I understand that. But I remember the day when I started dealing with Plusmark. Plusmark
Mm.
was that wrapping paper company, and Cleo
Yep.
Wrap and Plusmark were the two major wrapping paper companies 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And I remember the day my life changed in this industry was the day I saw kids running to the wrapping paper that I literally put in a truck like a day or two before,
Yeah.
right? Like literally
Yeah.
handled all these boxes because all the Canadian wrapping paper that came from Cleo Wrap and Plusmark, I controlled.
Yeah.
And it had to come through my hands. And at that point, the company I was with, we didn't have a warehouse. So it was my vice president, my business partner, and I, like up till like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, sleeping for 2, 3 hours under the desk and doing it all over again, under my
Yep.
desk in my office and doing it all over again for days on end to make this supply chain work. And then, the
Crazy.
payoff was watching the glow in people's faces when they grab that wrapping paper, knowing they're going to put their kids' presents under it, or the
Yep.
kids saying, "Oh my God, we're wrapping paper. We're gonna get, my brother's gonna get a gift, or my cousin's gonna get a gift," and it's like that's what it's all about.
That's
If
exactly
you move auto parts, you
what it's all about.
facilitate exactly. You move auto parts, you facilitate that person, the next person buying their first brand new car.
Hmm.
Right? If you're in construction and you're moving grout, you facilitate that person that's just saved up so much money for that renovation and that new shower or that new tile and wherever. And I know it's some people might think it's convoluted to think, but that's how and I mean, you know what?
And
Listen,
and
the
if this
last 2
cover
years have shown you how important supply chains are, brother,
But
right?
and I'll tell you, and if anybody listening, if this sounds like, yeah, but you are just doing this, and you are, then maybe you're not in that thing that's that right passion for you. When you have the right passion and the right that you're helping, it's more than just the freight or the commission.
Mhm.
Like Dan is explaining, you're on the right target. You got the right goal. I mean, you
Mhm.
got the right focus. As
Mhm.
your passion, it's not just a commission anymore. It's not just a
No.
sale.
Like you think about it, right? If you're doing construction material, perfect example, right? Construction
Yeah,
material. Construction material typically is, I mean, it's almost a just in time, not quite like an automotive just in time, but it's pretty much almost a just in time. So when they're coming to the end of the framing and the ceiling, I say, okay, we need the brick, or we need the asphalt, or we need the rebar for the foundation. If you're the person handling that, It's your obligation to keep these people in line because people have bought those homes and that's their first brand new home. They want to move in it on time. So and here's the thing, if everyone at every level of supply chain of business thought of the end user, I think more would get done. I really do.
Yes.
Because if they stepped out of just being a customer service rep, if they stepped out of just being a manager, just being a salesperson, just being a
Bingo.
COO, just being a CEO, if you step out of that and look at the bigger picture, right? We need that rebar there because if we are a day late with the rebar, they're a day late. Everything gets pushed back a day. If the concrete can't come for 2 days after that, that's 3 days. Then the bricklayers, and then everybody's position screwed up. There's a
Yeah.
timeline to everything. And if we, I don't know, for me, I just there's a much bigger in everything. If you're going to be a garbage man, be the best damn garbage man you can be.
Well, I
And
think it starts. I think it starts with being true to yourself. That's what I think it
yes,
really does start with.
yep, I agree with
Because
that.
me and Maggie were just talking. I mean, it's so crazy. This was our conversation last night, Max. If you're watching, but we literally were talking about people who can be a nurse and who really like Maggie is an RN. She figured out very quickly though she doesn't have that, and again, it's there's no, I mean, there's jobs out there that acquire that make you have to turn this off and use more of this, if that makes
Yes,
sense, without
yeah.
really attacking
You
anybody.
think of
um
vets.
but and so you have to turn off that, and she can't turn that off when it comes to certain things with that. She said, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
there are people who do. Teachers, another one we went to. I could never teach. If they offered me $1 million a year to teach like a bunch of little kids, I can't do it. I can't do it.
mm-hmm.
Or to do nursing. If they paid me $5 million a year, I can't do it. I can't touch those kind of things. I can't touch people in that kind of way. There's a lot of things I just couldn't do. There's nothing that can make me. So if I forced myself, you're not getting, just because of the money, I forced myself to do that. You're gonna get the worst version of me ever. But if I'm doing what I like, I mean, talking, sales, doing this, this is my passion. This is what we love. I mean, that's why we're doing it. Why we do it.
But there, again, there's so there's a bigger purpose for doing it,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And this
Yeah,
is,
it's the
like
purpose. It's what's in
my
you.
whole purpose, the whole reason for becoming more than just a business owner
Yeah,
for high performance logistics sales was the fact that logistics as an industry sucks at training their people properly. Like
very bad.
sucks. And
Yes,
I'll call a spade a friggin' spade. We are the worst industry on the planet for training our salespeople. I'm sorry. I have
it's
seen way too many really good people,
It's
like
because they think that
really good
it's
people
because
leave
they
the
think
industry.
there's because they act like there's this much business out there, and if you learn that little trick that gets that business, they don't want to. That everybody knows it, and there's no more business for everybody. That's like the most craziest
Yeah.
idea, but that's what it feels like. I'm just telling
Hmm.
you from the other end. That's what it feels like. I mean, it's
Yeah.
starting at a huge 3PL that is very well known, but I want to learn LTL. Oh, we have a guy, and he'll just give you a price. Well, why can't you tell me what he's doing? Because we have a guy and he'll just, what? Do I
Hmm.
work here? Like, are you paying me to work here? Like, don't
And
you want to
I
teach
also
me?
feel like most companies just throw you in the den with the lions,
Yeah,
and they don't teach you a strategy like becoming more than a salesperson.
yeah.
Because you can be, if you're just a salesperson, you're calling up, hey, how you doing? How's the weather? Yeah. You're going to get rejected all day long. And the sale
Yep.
you're going to get is that one person that just happens to want to know if you're going to be cheaper than the next person. They're pissed off. They're angry. And sure, you're going to catch a few fish. I mean, listen, you put a worm on a hook, you're going to catch a fish eventually, right?
Eventually, yeah.
The worm might be decrepit and like all wrinkly.
Especially
So
especially if you're
some,
fishing for the little bluegill that are up front that eat everything.
yeah,
Yeah, just kidding.
some fish is going to be hungry enough to take that worm.
Yeah,
But when you become more than just somebody who puts a fish on, when you understand the depths of fish, like, and so perfect example actually is fishing, the depth, what fish like what food. Let's give them what they like to help them, and the psychology of it. You think the fish wants to eat. We're going to help them eat. We're going to catch them. We're going to, hey, I won the competition. We're going to release them, or we're going to stuff them and put them on our thing. We're going to eat it, like whatever. But there's a bigger purpose than just putting, becoming a salesperson is just putting a worm on a hook and saying, or a salesperson is putting on a worm on a hook. Becoming more than a salesperson is understanding the dynamics of what depths want what kind of fish want what kind of what your customer profile is. How are you going to help them eat, like without catching them, I guess. So maybe it's not the best analogy.
Is it fair to say this? Is it fair to say this subject ties right along with superpower? Figuring out what your superpower is. I mean, that's
100%.
Once you guys know what your true superpower, everybody has a superpower. We talk about it all the time on here. We are superhero nerds, like you see. I got Iron Man back here. Dan's wears his Batman shirt. So we are superhero nerds. We love it. But again, it's because yes, Nintendo. I thought that's what it was.
Yeah. The old school Nintendo. It's. I often look at it, and I've been having this conversation with a lot more people these days, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the way logistics is rolling and kind of the dynamics in the industry. But you look at things like, perfect example, Tony Robbins, one of probably the best known personal development people on the planet. Amen. Some people don't like him and don't listen to him. Yeah. He's not their guru.
He's not.
That's it. Yeah. Some people, they'll only listen to Tony Robbins.
Grant Cardone.
He's their guru.
Cardone's probably the greatest example. I mean, he is in your face, and either you love him, like he says, or you hate him. There's nobody on the fence.
And here's the thing. If you like him and you understand his strategy and you understand what he's talking about, he calls the people out that don't do anything. He calls it out because he's like, I got no time for it. And if you understand it, it's like, yeah, that works.
You respect it. Yeah.
Right?
Even
he's
if you don't like it, you respect it.
A coach. He's going to pull you out of your comfort zone. He's going to say either, get off your ass and get to work, or forget about it. You're never going to be successful. And as a salesperson, if you're just a salesperson, you're never going to be successful. I'm sorry. And people might be like, well, I'm just a salesperson and I'm very successful. Well, it's because you do something on the back end. You might not consciously be aware of it, but you help people achieve their goals on the back end. If you're in it for just a commission, you will never be as successful. Let me rephrase that. You will never be as successful as you can be. You might be, quote unquote, successful, but you will not accelerate to your full potential. Guaranteed. Because just as Jeff says, think about this. Okay. You move and educate people. It's really what we do. Joshua, thanks for joining us, Joshua. He says true. True, 100%. Morning, Hayden. Like as a sales rep, like what is the mission? And I think that for me, that's where I start with almost every single sales rep I sit down with. It's like, okay, no. I know you want a strategy and you want to learn how to, a QC, ESP, a qualify, clarify expert. So you want to learn all these tactics. Who are you going after? Who's your ideal person that you want to deal with? Let's forget about commodity for a second. Let's forget about equipment. Let's forget about anything. Geographical, nothing. Because there's really 4 cells in our industry, right? There's geographical, there's a commodity, there's equipment, and there's people.
Yep.
Right? Like those are really the 4. And you can break everything down to those 4. So, commodity. Well, I want to do trade shows. I want to do, houseware. I want to do construction. I want like pharmaceutical, like all commodity. Geographical. Okay. I want to be like the California expert. Okay. Well, then how are you going to be more than just a salesperson in California? You're going to understand the lanes, the peaks, the valleys, the highest concentration of what exports out of there. What's the highest concentration of what comes in? How does what come in impact what goes out? And you're going to understand all of this because you're more than a salesperson. You're there to say, hey, you're shipping to California or from California. I'm your guru. And those people that want a guru and see you as the value that you bring to the table and see you as the leader in this piece, this puzzle, whatever it is, they're going to give you the business. And this is exactly where my framework of right message, right person comes in. Because if you're talking, this is what you are. You're more than a salesperson. You understand this, and you will keep your customer ahead of those change curves more than anyone else. And you're talking to somebody that says, well, I send my email out to 50 different brokers, and the one who comes back with the least amount of dollars and cents is the one that gets it. You're wasting your time.
Waste.
Completely
Yep.
wasting your time. You know,
Total waste.
100%.
Je-
Jeff says,
Jeff, yeah.
Jeff says, if you want to enter logistics, learn logistics operations. You'll know right then and there if the logistics industry is suppose you don't understand what your customer does. How can you serve their needs? 100%.
When,
100%. And
yeah,
then
no,
Kyle says, Jeff, couldn't agree more. I came from 10 years of sales experience, but I got into ops first for 3 years. The foundation of operations was what will lead to long-term success. You're not going to be profitable at being operationally poor. 100%.
yep.
And you know what? A lot of salespeople, they get a customer, they don't truly understand their ops. And again, if you're just a salesperson, you will never realize that you need to understand ops.
If you're new to this industry and you don't have that niche or know the market, like Dan is talking about with California, for example, great time to tune in on Wednesdays and see the mad scientist of logistics data with us, Dean, and he
Yeah.
shoot it out there. Let us know what areas you're working on, what areas you want
Mhm.
to know more about.
And, and,
Dean,
and, and DJ, Mr. Googs, you
yeah,
can find
Mr.
out
Googs
anything you
kind of
want,
knows everything
right?
too.
Like
Yeah,
Dean
yeah,
will bring us historical and present data. But if
correct.
you're talking about like the most exported, imported,
Yeah,
what is produced in that
look it up.
state, continent,
Invest
side,
time in
whatever.
yourself to learn.
We
Learn.
talked about that last week.
We
Yes,
did.
sir.
We
And
did.
that's what it's all about. Becoming more than a salesperson
Which
is
when
having a
now
voice.
I love that, and you said that again. And every time I hear that, I think to me what that means more than a salesperson for anybody out there who doesn't really know that feeling. The best way I could say that feeling is once you're working with your customer, your client, your whoever, and you feel like all of a sudden you guys are went from you trying to sell them something to you're on a team trying to figure out the strategy. Well, we do this, and now you're saying we do this, and it's not, well, if you do this, and you when you have that up here, and it's that team. You're a true, now you're really selling. Now you're thinking about what is going to fix them, and you're totally forgetting about what that even does for you. And when
Mhm.
that happens, that's it. It's the key. You're
Gold.
just
It's
trying to help
gold.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Let's rewind right back. For
Yep.
those of you listening that might be just getting in the industry, I got no value. I can't bring anything to the table. I can't do this. You can,
You
and you
can.
do have value. What is it the end result that you want for your clients? Like what do you really want to do? And if this industry is just a stepping stone, you'll never do the work. If this industry is your career, you will invest the time and energy into it. And why would a customer work with you? Like,
Mm.
and I'm
Why
not
you?
talking shipping from A to B. Let's pull that out of the equation because I'm sorry, everyone watching this episode, everyone that has a logistics title can move freight from A to B.
Yeah.
Whether they do it good or not, or what, it's irrelevant.
Or
Freight
yeah.
moving from A to B is no longer what gives you that edge. Back when I first started, it was we're a Canadian carrier and we can backhaul. That was the edge. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you can backhaul? Okay, we'll give you the freight. And nobody even understood what a backhaul is because there's, in my opinion, no such thing anymore because a mile is a mile is a mile is a mile, but whatever.
Exactly.
And so, like sit down and really say to yourself, what is it that you want to be the best at? Like, do you want to be the best at trade shows? Do you want to be the best at a certain commodity? Do you have a certain idea that you
What
want
is
to
your
help a customer
passion?
achieve? What is your passion? And start there because once you have that and you understand that I'm going to develop this superpower, your mindset changes. And when you walk into a conversation, when you pick up the phone for a sales conversation, it all changes. You're no longer kind of blindfold shooting a shotgun. You're pulling out a long scope rifle and you're saying, okay, I want to zero in. Are you somebody that I can work with long term? Are you my ideal customer? And that's, I believe, anyways, that's one of the first things. Like when you move from,
Yes, I
like,
agree.
when you move from just that, like just making sales calls to making sales calls with an intention, it's your first step to becoming more than just a salesperson.
Mm.
Because before
You
every
used a
call, you're saying,
powerful
okay,
word there, intention. I think the intention's the key.
mhm,
Intention's key for
mhm,
sure.
100%. It's imperative. Like everything we do has to have an intention. And like you can start out just looking at a geographical area and saying like, man, I got to help people in this area. Or if you have a certain a passion for a certain product, start in that area. And then there's always going to be offshoots of that product everywhere you go, which can develop an entire career. Like I know people that literally move one type of product and have made a massive career for themselves because they've cornered that market.
Yeah.
You know, like they become more than a salesperson.
Yeah. They
So
invest
just
in themselves. They invest in the knowledge,
100%.
the learning, and yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like just really think of this, because especially in today's day and age, you know, we've had enough customers on this show. There's enough experts that have walked down this path with us to say we need to be more. And you can't be wrong. In today's environment, your customers can't be wrong in choosing you. So how are you going to be different? How are you going to be somebody other than a salesperson? And how are you going to help your customers achieve their goals? Spend a couple hours thinking about that, because that hour, those couple of hours you spend will triple compound your results when you start picking up the phone or when you start sending emails.
Bingo.
That's all I got to say. Kenneth, how are you, my friend?
I love it. Hello, Kenneth. Hey, shout out. Jeff wants to connect with you, Kyle, if you've seen that. Hey, guys, thank you again. Everybody who's joining us. We love doing this. So we got a good week again. Tomorrow, Mary, she good? We good with Mary?
Yeah, we're all good. We're good.
All good. So we got a customer in. Be pretty fun to talk with her, and we did kind of give a little sneak peek last week of who it is. So if you want to check it out, check out some of the old replays. You'll see. And then we do have some. We got a fun week. This is going to be a fun week. Again, guys, we are live every day, Monday through Friday. Look below, like and subscribe us on Sales Chatter Live. On our again, we do have on LinkedIn our page as well. Try to scoot over to that instead of on me and Dan's personal LinkedIn's, just so we can, when we go live, we'll start to go live just from our Sales Chatter Live page on LinkedIn as well. But thank you guys again for every day just waking up with us and starting your day right with us. We do truly enjoy doing this. This is our passion. We do want to help. Dan's goal is to help 10,000 sales reps reach the TCC. So if you want to be a part of the TCC club, yeah, check it out. But quote for today, it's so funny. I think this led us right to it. I gave it away to Dan, so he's gonna love it. But the moment you accept total responsibility for everything in your life is the moment you can change anything in your life.
It's a good one.
Make that change, guys.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.